I just took a picture. I don't want to do picture. I want to do video. Oh, maybe I am doing video. Look at that. At least I can edit this stuff out.
Exactly.
Well, hey, welcome to another edition of Interviews with Mostly Unknown People. I'm with Dave Cole today. Dave has a storied history. I say mostly unknown because probably a lot of the people I know don't know you, except the people that are in the Northwest Ministry Network and possibly in the broader Assemblies of God. You served for, was it 20 years?
20 years.
20 years as the assistant superintendent of the Northwest Ministry. In fact, when you started, it was actually the Northwest District, wasn't
Right.
it?
Yeah, it was.
Didn't you and Les kind of change that whole deal there and change the name?
Yeah, we came on together back in 2002, and I'd been pastoring in East Wenatchee, and he was pastoring in Shoreline in Seattle. And so we were voted into those positions and had a great team on board, and we were able to talk about, what does it look like in the future? When they heard that we're part of a district, they were wondering, well, what kind of district are you with? Are you with a union or what? Mm. So we thought, maybe it'd be appropriate to change the name to something that means more like what we do. And that was being a network of churches and ministers and having a purpose of sharing Jesus wherever we can and make an impact. So it's been a great ride.
Well, it was interesting. I remember when all of that took place, and maybe I'm just a overly simple guy, but confession here. I heard we're changing the name. I was like, why? I don't get it. But I've noticed in the last 23 years, I think the vast majority of the districts are now calling themselves networks.
Right.
So you were a spearhead. You helped change not just the culture in Washington, and for those that don't know, the Northwest Ministry Network is the state of Washington and Panhandle of Idaho, and about 330 churches roughly.
Right. Yeah.
Not only leading there, but really leading on a nationwide, whether you meant to or not.
No, at the time, you do things for the local network, and it's kind of that way. Anything that we do for Jesus, you're doing it for Him. You're wanting to make an impact right where you're at, where you live. But it was a real honor to start hearing the other networks, that weren't networks at that time, right, saying, you know what, that just sounds more like our mission. And we have worked hard to make sure that the network is a relational community. Right. And of course, you and I, we go back a long ways, and it's because of the network.
I think you were involved when I got credentialed, and yet I still got credentialed. So
you did, and we've had a lot of fun with men's conferences and all kinds of activities.
Yeah. So let me back it. You did 20 years. Now you're retired now.
Well,
from the network.
I changed careers. Yeah, I think when you're called to the ministry, you probably don't fully retire unless you really are purposeful in it. Mm-hmm. But Debbie and I felt like there was a next, but it was time to pass the baton to the younger leaders and do what both her and I were really feeling what we wanted to do. So we found out a lot of things while we were thinking about changing, careers. And it's like the purposes that got us to where we were not going to take us to the next.
Okay.
And so we had to start asking ourselves, almost like taking a whiteboard and and writing down, what is our purpose? What's our main calling?
Mm-hmm.
And looking back at the dots and kind of connecting the dots for both of us, uh, we both have different purposes. Mine, as I look back, was maximizing kingdom impact and investment and encouraging others to do the same. So I came up with that before I even left the network. That's what I want to do going forward is maximize kingdom impact. And for Debbie, it was I'm called, and of course Debbie, I'm called to be an encourager, and she wants to encourage people in their walk with Jesus and everyday life. And so by doing that, it kind of helped us kind of look at what are the opportunities, going forward. Everything we're doing since we left the network is not our idea, has not been our idea.
Okay.
Which is really wild. The only thing we had was this purpose that we filtered everything through. And if it fit that purpose, it was like, okay, Lord, maybe you're up to something.
Would it be fair to say you've been kind of winging it since you left?
If it was only on our own strength, yeah.
Okay.
But
let me interrupt. I think there's winging it, and then there's spirit-led winging it.
And that's what I came up with an acrostic. It's called HSD. Holy Spirit directed.
Okay.
And that's kind of been our plan. Here we are it'll be 4 years this coming April.
Really?
It's hard to believe.
Wow.
But here we are, still the surprises of Jesus when you just say, okay, Lord, we want to be right where you want us. So to answer your question, 3 years ago this month, I was hired by Timberlake Church in Redmond to be the connections pastor and to develop a 50 plus ministry, 50 plus in age. And Debbie, 8 days later, was hired by Northwest University to be a lead gifts officer.
Really?
She told me she never wanted to raise money. And, again, another surprise. She does a very good job, in relating with people and helping them and that. So we're having a good time.
Good.
I was freaking out about, can we afford to make this change?
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine, Dave Phillips, superintendent in Montana, I asked him, do you have a financial advisor? And he goes, yeah, I do. I said, well, can you connect me with them? Because to be honest, I don't really know if retirement's possible.
Right.
So he connected me with his friend Dan, and within 6 months, we're sitting down, and it's just post-COVID, and we're on Zoom, and we're talking to this Thrivent Financial Group, and George said 3 things. Another financial advisor, he said, well, we looked over your material. You did a good job as a minister, which is code for...
As a minister. I've heard that one a few times.
Code for you didn't have much to work with, And then...
I had somebody tell me one time, I went riding with these guys out in the woods, never ridden with them before. And one of them was a guy at the church, and he had let them know apparently that he was going to bring his pastor. And he told me later, he says, yeah, those guys had a good time. They said you read really good for a pastor, for a preacher. I'm like,
yeah, thanks a lot, right?
At what point do I graduate to, you're just pretty good.
Like a real guy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So you did pretty good for a minister.
Did pretty good, but then he said, it's not enough. And then I'm going, oh man, here comes the big, scare tactics and all that. But the next words Brandon just really hit both of us in a positive way. He said, "But you're going to be okay."
That's nice.
And my wife just kind of leaned forward in her chair and she goes, "Oh, you mean I'm not going to have to sell my house?" And he just, "No, you're not going to have to sell your house."
Oh, good. Good.
So doing that, and then I'm still coaching with Outward Focus Network. We've got 2 different groups now going on, adding a third.
Wow.
We're going to be adding a group for our church for motorcycle enthusiasts.
Okay.
I've been leading a group. Whenever they have a men's breakfast, we'll say, "Hey, bring your bikes and we'll go for a ride."
Go somewhere for breakfast so you don't have to cook it.
Yes.
Oh, good.
We make sure that they eat well.
Good.
So that's kind of what we're up to right now. And then of course, the Lord's worked it out where we're close to our kids and grandkids, and that was my wife's number one purpose. I want to be where I can hang out, see my grandkids grow up. Mine was find a house in Post Falls, Idaho, a small house, and then build a big barn for my toys.
I understand that. Yeah.
But that one didn't work too well. She said, "I hope you have a good time doing that."
God listened to Debbie more than he did to Dave, huh?
I think so.
Well, hey, I want to. We'll talk about some of this, the outward focus in that in just a minute, but I want to back up a little bit. So, 20 years as associate superintendent or network
Right.
leader, whatever term we're using these days. Prior to that, you were at East Wenatchee.
Yes.
How long were you there?
20 years we pastored there.
20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And then had you pastored any other churches before East Wenatchee?
No, I was on staff at Hazeldale Assembly for 2 years.
Down here in
as a
Vancouver?
youth pastor. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a house right there in Hazeldale.
Okay.
And 2 years later, felt the nudge to resign. And so I resigned. I was a commercial.
Every pastor has felt that nudge, haven't they?
Yeah.
A time or two.
And I had a commercial painting company while going to Northwest with my friend Dave, the one I just talked about. And so I just painted houses while we were down here in Vancouver, trying to sense, what's the next move. You remember a guy by the name of Eugene Bourne? He was the assistant superintendent at that time.
I didn't start really paying much attention until I actually got credentialed.
Yeah.
It was one of those. If I don't make it in Washington, I'll go to Kansas because I got family back there.
Exactly, and if you're not in the circle, a lot of times we're not aware,
right,
of these individuals. But anyway, he talked to me and he said, "Why don't you come up to East Wenatchee and we've got a position open." I said, "For youth pastor?" And he goes, "No, lead pastor." I said, "No, thanks." My dad was a pastor, and I grew up in a pastor's home, and so
ministry has been in your it's pretty much in your DNA.
Oh, it's definitely in the DNA. My grandfather was a Assemblies of God minister. My great-grandfather was a Lutheran Brethren minister, pastored up close to Tonasket, Washington.
Wow.
So my goal in life was to not be a pastor.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you want to do, and how did your folks or did you ever have that conversation with your folks?
They were pretty good because my oldest brother went into airlines and became a pilot for Alaska Airlines.
Okay.
After he was in the Air Force. My older sister became an RN. My mom became an LPN. So I thought, this will be pretty easy. I can stay away from it. The main goal was I didn't want to be poor. I had a goal to be a millionaire by the time I was 40.
I'm not going to ask how that
Don't
went.
ask. And my brother and my sister had gone to Northwest University up in Kirkland, and I figured they made it for 2 years, and they graduated from there, and they went on to other schools, and so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good plan, and
Best laid plans.
and then towards the end of my second year, I I was majoring in business. In fact, I got an AA in business from Northwest University, and my plan was to leave Northwest, go to the University of Washington, and become a certified public accountant because I heard they made good money. And my teacher in high school, you know how some teachers can be. They can really, affirm you. And
Right.
he really affirmed me, and he said, "Man, you do really good at that." So I was just going on that. Drove to the University of Washington, got out of my 67 Firebird and walked to the doors, and it was like this black cloud. And I, for the first time, kind of heard a voice, a still small voice. And it was like, you can go in there if you want, but you're choosing your own destiny.
Wow. So you would have been roughly 20 around there?
Probably more like 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that,
Yeah.
then let's back up just a little bit, because and you've probably had these conversations with people, and you talk about, well, your faith journey, and I've talked to a lot of people who will tell me, oh, I've been a Christian my whole life. And I understand where they're coming from, but that's just not possible.
Right.
You can be born into a Christian family. You can be raised with Christian principles. You can be raised with a fear, and not a scared fear, but a respectful fear, and an awe and wonder and reverence for God. But you can't be born a Christian. You've got to be born again. You've got to come to some point where you say, I'm going to own this. This is not my parents' faith.
Yeah.
This is now my faith. So when was that for you? What led up to it? I mean, I know some very young.
Yeah.
Some not so young when they come to that, but.
Well, at the age of 5, I remember going to my mother at church saying, I want to receive Jesus into my heart. Okay. So I don't remember that, but my mother told me,
okay,
that's what I did. But I had a strange theology. You want to hear the theology?
Let's hear the theology. Is this your 5-year-old theology, or is this your 19-year-old theology?
This is probably my...
or is this more recent?
Well, no. I had this idea that I could I could set my own journey. I could set my own legacy. And I could give the Lord 50%. But I wanted 50%.
Gotcha. How'd that work out for you?
Not always very good, but I made it through, high school, and now I'm in college. And here's the thing about the community of believers. The first guy I meet when I walked into the 400 floor to bring my stuff in and move in was Don Ross.
Oh.
Don Ross served as a presbyter under me, and then he became my boss, and we served together over 10 years.
Yeah.
But I saw some godly men, Don and Dave Westman and Steve Skaggs and others on that floor that were they had something. They were rooted in, just really committed. And my theology wasn't fitting very good. In fact, I remember sneaking in because they had a curfew at night. and Don Ross would always keep his window open, and so
Eating.
and it was ground level, the window, and so I thought, well, I'll just sneak in there, and I got one foot in, and I thought I was on the edge of the bed, but I stepped on Don, and I heard this "ow," and he never knew it was me until later. I finally told him what I did,
Yeah.
but that community
Yeah.
was pretty cool. So fast forward, I went to a spiritual emphasis service that they had the night of when I checked in at the University of Washington, or was going to check in. And so a friend said, well, why don't you come to the service? You never know what'll happen. And so I go there. And have you ever had a speaker preaching and it's like they're reading your mail?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was, I can tell you where I was sitting at Northwest University in that
Wow.
chapel.
Wow.
And Dr. Bill Popejoy, who had cancer of the mouth, is holding a hanky so that the saliva would drop into the hanky while he's preaching. And I'm looking at him, and it's like the Lord said, you know what? He looks pretty foolish, doesn't he? And I go, well, yeah, I wonder why they picked him to speak. And then I heard, are you willing to be a fool for me?
Mm. Oh, man. And the rest, as they say, is history, huh?
So from that point on, I went down to the altar, and I'm like, okay, I am going to live and serve an audience of one.
Mm.
And if I look foolish doing this, so be it.
Wow. So, any regrets?
No. Since that time, fast forward a few months, I meet my wife. At that time, she was not my wife, but we've been married 47 years.
Wow.
46 years, and it's been awesome. But those things didn't start happening until I gave Jesus 100%.
Yeah, none of this 50-50.
It didn't work.
I want to grab onto something you mentioned. You talked about, and I don't remember the exact, but the relationships, the brotherhood or community, and that kind of leads into a lot of what you're doing now. You got the Harley badge on your sweatshirt. You ride a Harley. You've done quite a bit of stuff. Have you ever thought about putting a knobby on your Harley? We could make it really fun.
I have thought about taking my wife's Fat Boy and customizing it, but I don't know if she's going to let me. But that would be a fun bike to trick out.
They also make, what is it, the Trans Alp or something?
Yeah, they do.
That's kind of a dirt bike, but
I met a guy the other day in our church that has the electric bike.
Oh,
he likes it,
that's too
but
bad.
he said I run out of power way too quick. You can't go very far.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so back talking about the community with believers and biking it really is a big community.
Yeah.
Harley riders and bikers in general are really a big community, and sometimes they get kind of a bad reputation, sometimes well deserved, sometimes not. I was thinking about this the other day. I went to a friend's funeral a few years back, and he had ridden with a gang,
mm-hmm.
a group of guys. And when I went to his funeral, I have never seen so many bikes and so much leather in one place at one time.
Amazing, isn't it?
And this was actually like it wasn't the 1%er. It was like an offshoot group of one of the 1%er
Right.
groups. And I heard a lot of people talking about how intimidated they were,
Mm-hmm.
coming in and seeing all these bikes and all these bikers and all this leather and tattoos and everything. And I've just never been very good at being intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking past and I'm saying hi, and I start looking in the eyes of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know on the outside, they look like rough and tough bikers.
Right.
And they were. But you know what I saw on the inside? You know what I saw in their eyes? And I don't mean anything, if there's any biker, any Harley guys watching this, I don't mean any disrespect or anything rude, but you know what I saw in that group was kids that maybe were in band in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that they weren't the jocks.
Right.
They weren't the academic heads. They weren't, the leaders, the heroes, the whatever. They weren't the ones that everybody was chasing after. They were the ones that didn't really fit in anywhere.
Right.
And in this group, they found a family.
Yeah.
They found a home. They called each other brother. They called each other, and I mean, it was
No, you're right.
for life.
Yeah, you're right.
Once you enter, it was for life. And
mm-hmm.
and it just, something just hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting, and I had already read your book. We'll get to that in a minute. But I just thought, if the church could act a little bit more
Absolutely.
like a gang, be a little more accepting, be a little more loving, be a little more there for one another, be a little more willing to overlook the past and the falls and how much stronger would the church be? And if there's some way to reach these guys with the gospel, these guys and these gals, some way to reach them, and just let them know, because I'm convinced a lot of these people out there look so hard, they're avoiding church. It's not that they don't love God, don't want anything to do with God, but I think what the truth of the matter is they don't want what they've seen represented.
One of the things that I respect about the biker community is they're fine saying, you know what, we're all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would happen if the church did what Scripture says?
Yeah.
We've all sinned.
Mm-hmm.
We've all come short. We're all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it on our own. And that's what I like about the biker community is you're immediately accepted because we're all messed up.
Yeah.
And let's ride together. Let's get some people that are messed up. Let's ride together.
Well, and you see somebody break down on a bike, and they're not alone for very long.
They're not alone. No, we're a brotherhood.
And it doesn't really matter if they're on a Harley or an Indian or a BMW or whatever. If it's got two wheels or if it's got, a frame that's got a motor in it and just one wheel up front. Yeah, there's this connection. And yeah, I mean, everybody jokes and pokes fun at one another.
Yeah.
But there is a brotherhood there. Anyway, I'd mentioned you wrote this book a couple years ago, What the Church Can Learn from Harley-Davidson. One thing that you didn't touch on here that I have wrestled with for the longest time, and I don't know that there really is an answer, but with the Harley crowd, you guys will plan your trips around a dealership. I mean, hey, we're going to go for a ride, and there's a dealership up there, and we're going to stop there because on Saturday where they're going to have hot dogs, they're going to have coffee. I can get a T-shirt from that particular one. And so you've got this whole group of Harley enthusiasts, Harley riders, regardless of whether they're, the Hell's Angels or Heaven's Angels or what. Anyway, that's their goal. We're going to go to this dealership. Why is it, or what is it that the church could learn to say, I'm going on vacation, but I'm going to go check out that church? Can you imagine how many people that go on vacation? Well, I'm taking a break from everything.
Yeah. Well, the thing about a Harley Davidson store, there's a number of positive things, and I talk about it in the book. But the one that stands out to me is when you show up at their doors, you're treated as a unique individual.
Hmm.
You're treated with respect. And the question is, how can we serve you? Not how can you serve us,
Right.
but how can we serve you? And their job is to, because they're in the writing business, their job is to find a bike that fits you. Now, the interesting thing is they will sell you, if it's a new bike, a standard bike.
Hmm.
So, I have a road glide right now, but I've had many different types, and uh, they'll sell you a standard bike, but then they want to encourage you to change that bike up, put some chrome on it, like what you were saying, put some knobbies on it. I mean, whatever fits, let's help you achieve your purpose,
Right.
that bike fits you. In the church world, there's this stigma that you come to the doors and you've got to clean up.
Hmm.
You've got to become like all the rest of us before we let you in. Now, that's not the heart of Christianity, but it often is the world's view.
Right.
Looking in, that I can't go in there. I'm all
Right.
messed up. Those people, they act like they got it all together. But
Act.
And so what would happen if the church, rather than stereotyping people, rather than saying, oh, look, a bunch of bikers just showed up, say, hey, there's Steve, there's Scott, there's Jill, there's Sue.
Right.
They're individuals.
Right.
Jesus died for them.
Yeah.
How could we love on them and let them know that Jesus wants to ride with them?
Well, how can we? I've said before, the same materials that we can use to build a wall, we can also use to build bridges.
Right.
And how can we build bridges to these other communities?
Right.
These other groups of people that, hey, they need Jesus and they need somebody.
Right. You're right.
They need somebody.
And when you get to know them, you shared about it earlier. They're beautiful people. They're teddy bears.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they put the leather on and they get the tattoos and they grow the hair to have the biker look. But I know a lot of ministers, a lot of lawyers, a lot of accountants that love to get the leather on, love to go out on weekends and, hang out together.
Yeah. Kind of shed the old image.
That's right.
And embrace something that oddly might be a little more comfortable.
That's right. And maybe more like what
they were really designed.
They're like.
Yeah. Well, I was flipping through your book actually last night. I thought,
okay,
I'm gonna go back through it. I did read it when I got it.
Yeah.
And I found something that I highlighted, and it just jumped out at me again, and I think it was my favorite part of the book actually. And you had been talking to, I don't know if it was an owner or manager or whatever, but it says we don't do fear.
Yeah.
We miss many opportunities because we're afraid. Fear can paralyze, but taking risks to embrace change can open up a whole new world for each of us. Whatever that might look like in your world, don't let fear rob you of experiencing all that God has for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's my favorite quote in the entire book. Now, I also highlighted courage is living beyond our fears, and I think that's something that anybody that's listening can take away. And it's not just fear of what a person might look like, and it's not just fear of what God might want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he looks kind of foolish. How would you like to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not just fear of I don't know, falling down. We need to learn to live in this life, that we don't have to have everything figured out. We don't have to have all of the dots connected. And
You're right.
I think the most exciting way for us to live is spirit led winging it. We're
That's
following
right.
the spirit, but he gives us enough room to kind of wing it and do things our own way.
Yep.
You know, we each have our own personalities and our own likes, and some people like to hunt and some like to fish, and I've heard about people that like to croquet, whatever.
So be it, right?
There's people that like to cook,
Yeah.
and I would rather provide the food for them to cook.
Exactly.
You know, but no matter what those hobbies, those interests are, God can use those
Right.
when we say, okay, Lord, here I am.
Absolutely.
I'm yours. So if somebody wanted to get up, is this book still available?
It is. It's available on Amazon, and so you can just go on and type in either Davey Cole or What the Church Can Learn from Harley-Davidson.
Okay.
And it's definitely available. Yeah, I totally agree with you that, and you've probably heard this too since you ride motorcycles, but when people find out you ride, you can you can understand their fear quotient when immediately they tell you about the person who died on a motorcycle, the person who got injured, person who got hit. Yeah, that does happen, but we forget about the millions of motorcycles that are on the roads every day. And we don't talk about the car crashes. If I tell you I bought a new car, you don't tell me, oh man, let me tell you about my truck, the deer that hit my truck.
And a lot of that's perspective. So much of life is perspective. I tell people, and I like to ride off road. I race off road. I put miles on off road, and I like to tell people, because they're, oh, that's so dangerous. I have never been seriously injured on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that causes some people to, what? Because I broke my sternum, I've blown my knee out, I blew my shoulder out, I broke my wrist, all on motorcycles, all riding. But here's my perspective. I always rode out. I have never not ridden out. And since I have always ridden out, I've never been seriously injured on a motorcycle.
There you go.
And I'm trusting the Lord that that's going to continue.
That's right.
But you know what? I'm not going to, as I told you, my mom's unspoken motto was, I'm going to live until I die.
Yeah. It was a couple of years ago when I was diagnosed, almost this month, I was diagnosed with nasopharyngeal cancer.
It's easy for you to say.
Which is mastic. It's cancer up in the sinus cavity behind your nose. And they didn't know where it was at. Had a lymph node that showed up. And the doctor said, you know what, let's just cut that out and then we'll do the biopsy. I said, yeah, I don't want that big lump on my neck.
It's not so attractive.
Yeah. So he did the surgery, and it was diagnosed as nasopharyngeal cancer. And when I saw the word mastic, you know how they'll post it now on my chart before you get a chance to even see your doctor. So I'm reading this. I don't know what it means, but I do know what the word mastic means. It means this can be in every part of your body. And I at that moment, I felt, you know what? I'm not going to approach this with fear. I know where I'm going to go when I pass from this life. My trust is in Jesus. He died, was buried, rose again, and that power lives within me.
Amen.
And so
Amen.
I'm not fearful of it. I was concerned about my kids and my wife,
Sure.
and how would they make it and all that. And so I had a real desire. I'm going to do everything I can, in my ability, and the rest is up to the Lord. So I underwent proton radiation and chemo at the University of Washington. They did a great job, and I felt like the Lord was saying, I want you to go to the University of Washington and just be a missionary for me there.
That's good.
And that's all I knew. I didn't know where this was going to go, but I didn't want to waste the pain, and I didn't want to waste the opportunity.
Right.
And so every time I'd see the medical people, my doctors, which were awesome, I said, thanks for being a part of my miracle.
That's cool.
Fast forward, 6 months later, I was had the MRIs and the blood tests, and cancer free. Had one just recently, cancer free, and I thank the Lord for that.
Yeah.
But I liken it to motorcycle riding, that I'm not gonna not get on my bike,
Right.
thinking that I'm gonna get in an accident, because I don't do fear.
Right.
And when you're faced with death, when it comes to cancer, I'm like, good grief. Riding a bike. And here's the crazy thing. My wife and I have done 2 coast-to-coast trips to the East Coast and back from Seattle. Her and I have clocked probably over 100,000 miles together on Harleys.
Wow.
I've clocked over 150,000 miles on Harleys. I know there'll come a time where, I'll either have to go to a trike, but I'm not ready to do that yet. As long as I can get on it, it's a recliner on wheels anyway. It's a lazy boy on wheels.
I've sat on them. I've sat on them. I haven't graduated to that yet, but I've sat on them. So, Dave, I appreciate your time, and I don't know how much. We might edit this. I might just put it up as it is. I don't even know how long it's been, but I know we're also on a time frame. But thanks for joining and sharing your life.
Thank you much.
Appreciate it. So, tune in next time. You never know. Might interview you.